Welcome to the fascinating world of Greek mythology and have fun with ME4 Smart Learning.
Rise of the Titans. After the scream of the fallen Uranus had faded over the earth, a suffocating silence returned to the world. Cronus stood in the pale moonlight, the sickle with which he had deposed his father firmly in hand. The blood of the sky god dripped onto the earth, and from the dark sap that soaked the ground, the Furies rose, shadowy beings that bore the curse of vengeance within them. Yet it was not only these blood-borne creatures, but also the last words of Uranus that sank like poison into Cronus's thoughts. Your blood will turn against you. The shadow of this prophecy obscured the certainty of his victory. Cronus, now the most powerful of the Titans, sensed the oppressive burden of authority resting heavily on his shoulders. Beside him stood Gaia, his mother and ally. Her gaze, which had once radiated pride for her defiant son, was now tinged with worry. "It's done," Gaia said quietly, as if she could sense the weight of what was happening around her. "However, your father's curse will catch up with you eventually." Cronus, his gaze fixed on the vast horizon, replied without hesitation, "Let him threaten. Today our reign begins. I shall rule, for it is my destiny." He let the sickle fall to the ground, a symbol that marked the end of an era. In his words lay determination, yet a flicker of doubt secretly gnawed at him. The ominous prophecies of his father loomed like distant clouds that might one day gather, but for now the sky remained clear. Gaia looked at him for a long time, her eyes radiating a wisdom that ran deeper than the very depths of the earth. "But, Cronus," she whispered, the gravity of eternity resonating in her voice, "power is a double-edged sword. It led to your father's downfall, and one day it will come for you as well." Cronus's jaw tightened, yet he remained unmoved by his mother's words. The future felt like a distant dream to him. "Today, the world belongs to me, Mother. I will rule like no one before me." With these words began the ascent of Cronus, yet the seed of dread, sown by the curse of his father, was already deeply rooted within him. It was a spark that would one day kindle the flames that would cast his reign into the depths. The fall of Uranus signified not only the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new order. At the forefront of this change was Cronus, who, as his first act as ruler, engaged his siblings in the governance of the world. The Titans, once suppressed by their father's power, now rose to become masters of the forces of nature. Okeanos, the eldest of the Titans, was granted dominion over the unmeasurable deep blue oceans that enveloped the earth. Hyperion, the Radiant, assumed the role of guardian of the sun and the twinkling stars in the sky. Themis, the goddess of justice, was entrusted with the preservation of the laws and the equilibrium of the world. Each Titan discovered their place within the new world order, which Cronus governed with an iron fist. With the introduction of this new rule, an era of peace and prosperity commenced, which would subsequently be referred to in history as the Golden Age. The earth yielded bountiful harvests. The people coexisted harmoniously with nature, experiencing neither want, war, nor suffering. The gods ruled with benevolence, and the mortals relished a period of serenity and plenty. Yet despite the outward harmony, Cronus remained deeply unsettled. The ominous curse of his father reverberated in his mind, and he could not dispel the persistent dread that this reign, however flawless it appeared, could ultimately come to an end. The haunting notion that one of his own offspring might rise against him lingered relentlessly. Deep within his soul, a profound fear began to fester, and he understood that the tranquility he had forged was nothing more than a fragile illusion. The Golden Age of the Titans. The Titans ruled in a world of gods and immortal beings. In this era, when the earth flourished in abundance and the sea was calmer than ever before, Gaia, the Mother Earth, felt a profound longing for something. Life that was more fragile, transient, and yet unique. The world was populated by gods and titans, and yet no living beings connected to the earth itself dwelled upon it. One day, as Gaia roamed the expansive plains, she summoned the Titans to her. The formidable Themis, goddess of justice, and Prometheus, the sagacious and far-seeing Titan, stood beside her, while Oceanus and Hyperion listened from the fringes of the ocean and the heavens. Gaia gazed upwards. The sunlight shimmered upon her time-worn visage. "We have fashioned everything that can be fashioned," began Gaia, her voice resonant and grounded, "yet something remains absent. This world thrives, yet it is barren of creatures who are born and perish, who encounter joy and sorrow within a fleeting existence. Creatures who evolve, who coexist harmoniously with nature, yet do not endure eternally as we do." Prometheus, whose intellect was both swift and keen, stepped forward and proclaimed, "Mother Earth, you speak of mortals, but why should we bring forth beings bound to the fate of death? The gods are untouched by the passage of time." Gaia smiled gently, her eyes radiating wisdom and compassion. "There is a profound beauty in mortality. When mortals are born, they learn to appreciate the world in its transience. They dream, love, fight, and lose. It is their fleeting nature that makes them extraordinary. Perhaps," she added, "they will teach us to view the world from a new perspective." Themis, the goddess of justice, nodded in agreement. "It would be fair for there to be beings who inhabit the earth with whom they are intrinsically connected. They could honor the earth, preserving its balance. Unlike us, who exist eternally, they would be an integral part of the cycle that you, Gaia, have brought into being." Yet Cronus, the king of the Titans, remained unconvinced. He scrutinized Gaia with his keen, distrustful gaze. "What is your intention behind creating mortals?" he inquired, his voice laden with skepticism. "What benefit do we gain from beings that perish? Their lifespans will be so fleeting that they will scarcely hold any significance." Prometheus stepped forward once more, his eyes alight with enthusiasm for the concept. "Uncle, it is your very mortality that imbues you with significance. Mortals will not only revere the gods, but also each other. They will forge art and culture. Their actions will resonate far beyond their fleeting lives." Cronus snorted, his eyes glinting with suspicion. "And what if they turn against us? What if they seek to be more than mere mortals?" Gaia replied calmly, "The lives of mortals are transient, and their power will never surpass ours. However, we should not act out of fear of them. Their existence is inherently limited, and it is precisely this limitation that makes them a part of me, a part of the earth." After a moment's hesitation, Cronus nodded. "So be it. However," he added, "let us not forget that they are under our control. They shall live, but never in the delusion of being equal to the gods." Gaia and Themis reached a consensus, marking the beginning of the creation of mortals. Prometheus, filled with enthusiasm to showcase his wisdom and creativity, took clay from the earth and meticulously shaped the first humans from it. With great attention to detail, he fashioned them in the likeness of the gods, yet they bore one significant flaw: they were mortal. As the other Titans marveled at his creation, Gaia infused them with life. Thus the humans awoke, becoming the first mortals to ever tread upon the earth. Yet Cronus, who observed the mortals, once again felt the subtle whisper of distrust in his heart. "They are feeble," he murmured to himself, "and within this frailty may lie a threat." His eyes narrowed as he watched the first humans sprinting across the fields, their faces alight with awe at the marvels of the world. "Nothing is assured," he whispered, as a new, ominous thought began to awaken within him. The mortals, blissfully unaware of the ominous fate looming above them, lived in serene harmony within the world, governed by the Titans. They experienced neither hardship nor fear, devoutly worshipping the gods to whom they owed their very existence. Yet, beneath this facade of tranquility, a shift began to unfold, a subtle transformation, a murmur of change that even the immortal gods could not overlook. The children of Cronus. While the mortals on Earth led a peaceful life, Cronus was consumed by an unsettling turmoil that refused to release its grip on him. The curse of his father Uranus resonated within him, a haunting reminder from the past that undermined his authority. Your own blood will bring you down. This prophecy had seared itself into his heart, and with each passing day, his fear grew ever more profound. One night, as the stars twinkled brilliantly in the sky, Cronus sat upon his stone throne, gazing vacantly into the vast expanse. His wife, Rhea, drew near, her eyes brimming with worry, yet Cronus appeared remote, ensnared in his own reflections. "Cronus, what is weighing on your mind?" Rhea inquired gently, resting her hand on his shoulder. "The world flourishes under your reign, the golden age blossoms, and mortals hold us in high esteem. What is the source of your uncertainty?" Cronus, without averting his gaze, replied in a grave tone, "It is the curse. My father warned me that one of my children would bring about my downfall. These words are etched in my mind. They haunt me relentlessly." Rhea let out a deep sigh as she settled beside him. "Those are merely the words of a vanquished god," she asserted with unwavering conviction. "You are Cronus, the sovereign of the Titans. No one would dare to challenge you, especially not your own offspring." But Cronus shook his head. "You fail to grasp, Rhea. The curse will inevitably unfold, just as fate always does. I witnessed it in my father's eyes when I usurped him. He understood that I could not retain my power indefinitely, and I am acutely aware of that as well." Rhea gazed at him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "What do you intend to do, Cronus? Our children will thrive in harmony with us. They will not be our adversaries. They will be embraced as part of our family." Cronus rose abruptly and turned to her, his eyes flashing with determination. "I cannot risk that. Every time I see a child in your arms, my father's words echo in my mind. They are like a constant whisper that I cannot shake off. There is only one way to escape this fate." Rhea's eyes widened in shock as the gravity of his words sank in. "What do you mean by that, Cronus?" she asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Cronus said he'd eat all our kids before they're strong enough to challenge him." His voice was as cold and firm as the depths of winter. Rhea was horrified. "You can't do this. They are your children, our flesh and blood. They are innocent, Cronus. This prophecy doesn't have to end this way. There is always a choice." Yet Cronus remained unyielding. "There is no alternative, Rhea. This is the sole path to ensure that I maintain my power. I refuse to sit idly by while fate looms over me." Soon after Rhea gave birth to their first child, Hestia, the unimaginable occurred. Overwhelmed by his fear, Cronus cradled the newborn in his arms and without a moment's hesitation swallowed her whole. Rhea could only watch in despair, her eyes brimming with tears. The Titan king, once proud of his might, now stood as a man consumed by terror. Every time Rhea brought another child into the world, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, the horrific ritual unfolded once more. Cronus, consumed by an insatiable fear, devoured them immediately after their birth. With each tragic event, a fragment of Rhea's hope diminished, leaving her to wonder if her husband would ever find solace. Yet deep within her heart, she understood that she had to devise a plan to save at least her youngest child. She could not bear the thought of this child enduring the same dreadful fate. One night, as Cronus sank into a deep slumber, Rhea found herself alone in her chamber, gazing at the tranquil moon. In her eyes, despair had faded, replaced by an unwavering resolve. She knew she had to take action. Her next child must not endure the same tragic fate as his siblings. When Rhea found herself pregnant once more, she resolved that this child would not endure the same fate as its predecessors. In her desperation, she sought the assistance of Gaia, the formidable Mother Earth. Gaia, who had previously aided Cronus in ascending to the throne, was acutely aware of the relentless cycle of violence that characterized the world of the gods. She counseled Rhea to employ a cunning ruse at the time of the child's birth. Rhea gave birth to Zeus in a cave on Crete, far from Cronus's gaze. In a clever ruse to deceive her husband, she wrapped a large stone in swaddling clothes and presented it to Cronus. Blinded by his fear, he swallowed the stone, convinced that he had also disposed of this child. Consequently, Zeus grew up unnoticed by his father, safeguarded by Gaia and the nymphs, who nurtured him in the mountains of Crete. The rescue of Zeus. The ruse devised by Gaia and Rhea proved to be entirely successful. As Cronus complacently consolidated the power he believed he had gained by devouring the stone, his youngest son, Zeus, was growing up safely in a distant land. Oblivious to the impending threat, Cronus relished the seeming tranquility of his rule, completely unaware that the destiny he thought he had evaded was already beginning to cast its shadows. In the deep, secluded cave on Crete, Zeus was nurtured under the watchful care of the nymphs and the formidable Gaia. The thick forests and towering mountains encircling the cave concealed the child of destiny, destined to one day overthrow the Titan king. Gaia, the very embodiment of the earth, personally oversaw the nymphs who raised Zeus, ensuring that the secret of his existence remained safeguarded. Zeus himself grew up in a world that unveiled the mysteries of nature to him. Under the nurturing guidance of the nymphs, he learned to comprehend and master the elemental forces of the earth. Yet within his heart, a profound awareness of the injustice that had shaped his destiny began to take root, the horrific act of his father, who had mercilessly consumed his own siblings. One evening, as the Cretan sun dipped behind the mountains, casting a warm golden glow over the land, Zeus sat at the entrance of the cave, feeling the raw power coursing through the earth beneath his feet. Gaia approached him, her presence as majestic and sublime as ever. Her gaze wandered into the distance, yet her words were directed solely at Zeus. In the twilight, as the first stars began to appear in the sky, she turned to him and said, "You are ready, Zeus," her voice quiet yet resolute. Zeus turned to her, his eyes full of questions. "Ready for what, grandmother?" he asked, although he already knew the answer deep within himself. "Are you prepared to bring your father's reign to an end?" asked Gaia, her voice imbued with the unyielding truth of destiny. "Cronus has dominated the world with his fear for far too long. It is time for the prophecy to be realized. However, before you face him, you must liberate your siblings." Zeus remained silent for a moment, the burden of those words weighing heavily on his shoulders. "Are my siblings still alive?" he asked, the concern unmistakable in his voice. Gaia nodded slowly. "They are alive, yet they remain ensnared within your father, shrouded in his darkness and devoured by his fear. Only you possess the power to liberate them, and when you do, the era of the Titans will draw to a close." Zeus's heart thundered in his chest. The fury directed at his father, who had imprisoned his children in darkness, blazed within him like an uncontrollable inferno. Yet amidst this fury resided a steely determination, a vivid vision of the fate he was destined to achieve. "How can I liberate them?" he inquired with unwavering resolve. Gaia stepped a little closer and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "It will take a clever ruse, much like the one we once employed against Uranus. However, you will not face this challenge alone. Rhea, your mother, will be by your side. Together, you will outwit Cronus, and with formidable strength, you can compel him to free your siblings." Zeus recognized in Gaia's eyes that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. Yet he felt a surge of determination. "I will do it," he declared resolutely. "I will free my siblings and overthrow Cronus." Gaia nodded, her eyes sparkling in the glow of the setting sky. "The moment approaches, Zeus. Brace yourself, for your destiny is inescapable." Zeus' upbringing and preparation. The days on Crete passed, and Zeus, acutely aware of his destiny, began to prepare for the impending battle. Under the vigilant gaze of Gaia, and with the support of the nymphs, his power steadily increased. Each day brought him closer to his unavoidable ascent, and each step deepened his comprehension of the world he would one day govern. One morning, as the gentle wind rustled through the time-worn olive trees of the island, Rhea approached him. Her eyes, once burdened by years of grief over the loss of her children, now sparkled with renewed hope as she gazed upon her son. She understood that Zeus held the key to rescuing her entwined children. "Zeus," she began gently, "the moment has arrived for you to embrace your destiny. However, before you face Cronus, you must grasp the secrets of the power that lies dormant within you." Zeus approached his mother with tears in his eyes. "Mother, how could Cronus do this to you?" he asked, his voice laden with anger and sorrow. "He consumed his own children, my brothers and sisters, driven by the fear of a fate from which he cannot escape." Rhea gently placed her hand on his cheek. "Your father is a prisoner of his own fear," she said, her voice heavy with a sorrow that cut deep into her heart. "He is convinced he can outsmart fate, yet no one possesses that power. For far too long I have stood by and watched as he dismantles our lives, dragging us into despair. Now the responsibility falls to you, Zeus. You must liberate the world from his tyranny and restore the balance." Zeus's heart was heavy, yet within him blazed an unquenchable fire. "I shall liberate my siblings, mother," he declared with unwavering resolve, "and I will topple Cronus. His reign has persisted for far too long." Rhea took a small vial from her robe and handed it to her son. "This concoction, crafted from the potent forces of the earth and the heavens, will weaken Cronus," she explained. "If you administer this to him, he will be compelled to release your siblings once more. However, you must exercise caution. Cronus is immensely powerful, and his paranoia has rendered him more dangerous than ever before." Zeus gazed at the vial, in which a golden liquid shimmered as if it were woven from the pure light of the stars themselves. A wave of uncertainty washed over him. "What am I to do faced with such power?" he murmured. "You must serve him to draw near," Rhea said, a note of concern lacing her voice. "In his role as a servant, he will not recognize you. When the crucial moment arrives, you will need to administer the mixture to him. However, remain vigilant, Zeus. Cronus has countless eyes and ears watching." Zeus nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "I will be careful, mother. I will not falter." Rhea smiled, and in that smile lay the weight of all the hope and pain she had concealed for so long. "I believe in you, my son. You have the power to change the world," she whispered, as memories of past struggles and dreams flickered through her mind. Zeus knew that the moment would soon arrive when he would have to confront his father. As he trained in the mountains of Crete and honed his powers, the unrest within him intensified. The time for preparation was coming to an end, and the moment for action was drawing ever nearer. At night, Zeus frequently found himself dreaming of the monumental battle that awaited him. In these visions, he beheld the anguished face of his father, consumed by the dread of what was to come, yet oblivious to the profound depths of his own frailty. Zeus understood that the path to victory rested not solely on his might, but also on the shrewdness of Gaia and Rhea. The little bottle that Rhea had given him glowed in the darkness of the cave where he kept it, as if it were a radiant spark of destiny. Zeus heard the voices of his siblings calling out to him, their cries ensnared in the darkness of Cronus's innards, where they suffered eternal imprisonment. Yet he was also aware that their time would soon arrive. The rebellion of Zeus. The moment had arrived. Zeus, now fully grown and prepared to confront his destiny, embarked on his journey to the palace of Cronus. On the horizon, he beheld the formidable throne of his progenitor, encircled by Titans who upheld his dominion. Cronus, who ruled the realm with an iron grip, appeared invulnerable. However, Zeus understood that his father's greatest strength was simultaneously his most significant vulnerability, the fear that festered within him, akin to a toxic weed, sustained by the curse of his own father. Zeus, disguised as an unassuming servant, stealthily entered the palace, unnoticed by anyone. To the Titans, he appeared to be just another inconspicuous attendant in the grand halls of Cronus. Each day he diligently fulfilled his duties, gradually drawing nearer to Cronus, until at last he seized the chance to serve his father directly. Cronus, whose eyes were clouded by paranoia and the weight of years, failed to perceive the imminent threat looming before him. He existed in a perpetual state of dread, haunted by the fate foretold to him through his father's curse. Ironically, it was this overwhelming fear that rendered him oblivious to the peril posed by Zeus. The scheme was straightforward yet cunning. Zeus bided his time, waiting for the instant when Cronus would unwittingly consume the golden liquid from the vial. One evening, as Cronus sat down to his meal, Zeus approached him and offered the golden drink that Rhea had prepared. He watched as Cronus greedily drank, convinced that it was merely another attempt to consolidate his power and escape his fate. But the effect of the potion took hold immediately. Cronus felt his insides churning violently, and an overwhelming sense of unease washed over him. His eyes widened in horror as a dreadful rasp escaped his throat. He sensed something writhing within him, something that had no rightful place there, tormenting him and threatening to tear him apart. With a blood-curdling scream, he suddenly expelled one of his entwined children, Hestia, the goddess of the hearth. Zeus stood motionless beside Cronus, observing the agony etched on his father's face as his siblings emerged from his belly, one after the other. First came Demeter, followed closely by Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, all weakened yet alive. The sight filled Zeus with a profound sense of pride and unwavering determination, yet the piercing scream of Cronus sent tremors throughout the entire realm. Betrayal! Betrayal in my own household! Cronus's voice reverberated through the grand halls as he struggled to grasp the magnitude of what had transpired. In his rage he endeavored to reclaim control, but it was far too late. The gods had been liberated, and the prophecy he had dreaded for so long was now unfolding in all its terrifying glory. You! Cronus' eyes sparkled as he recognized who was standing in front of him. Zeus, my own son! His voice was filled with anger and pain. You orchestrated all of this. Zeus, clutching the sickle of his mother Gaia, stood resolutely. Yes, father, he responded with a steady voice. Your reign has come to an end. You consumed your children out of fear of destiny, yet it is that very destiny which you tried to escape that has now caught up with you. Cronus fixed his gaze upon him, his chest heaving with each labored breath. Do you truly believe you have the strength to topple me? You are nothing but a mere child, Zeus, a child who knows nothing of the immense power I wield. Zeus stepped forward, raising the sickle that had once sealed Uranus's downfall. Perhaps I am not yet as powerful as you, he declared, but I stand not alone. At his side, his siblings emerged, their eyes gleaming with determination. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon now stood resolutely beside him, prepared to confront their father. We shall bring you down, Cronus, Zeus continued, just as you once brought down your father. A new era is about to dawn, an era in which we shall no longer live in fear of prophecies, but instead govern the world according to the dictates of fate. Cronus growled, his fists clenched tightly as the ground beneath him quaked. "You are utter fools to believe you can conquer me. I am Cronus. I embody the very sense of time." But Zeus remained steadfast. "Then let us see if time still belongs to you today, Father." The preparation for the Titanomachy. After Cronus had regurgitated his children and the prophecy had been set in motion, Zeus realized that the confrontation with his father and the Titans was unavoidable. The fury in Cronus's eyes and the deep-seated hatred that consumed him made it evident to Zeus that this was not merely a personal conflict. It was a war that would shape the destiny of the entire world, a conflict that would be remembered in history as the Titanomachy. Zeus retreated with his recently freed siblings into the caves of Olympus. High above the clouds, gazing down at the world ruled by Cronus and the Titans, he devised his plans. Each breath in this lofty realm invigorated him, yet the burden of the looming conflict pressed heavily upon him. Hades, the brooding and solemn god, was the first to speak. "We are still not prepared, Zeus. Although Cronus is weakened, the Titans remain numerous and powerful. They dominate the earth, the sky, and the oceans. We urgently require allies." Zeus nodded thoughtfully. "You are correct, brother. Cronus will not engage in battle alone. He will rally the Titans to his side. However, we are not powerless. We must seek out allies who will champion our cause." Hera, who stood beside Zeus, sparkled determinedly. "There are many who despise Cronus's rule. The Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires. They have been banished since our father exiled them to the depths of Tartarus, fearing their strength. They could be formidable allies, and yet they are trapped deep in Tartarus," Poseidon interjected, his untamed spirit rendering him restless. "How can we possibly free them?" Zeus's eyes narrowed as he gazed into the distance. "It will not be an easy task, but we must make the attempt. Their strength will be of utmost importance. The Cyclopes, with their colossal forms, and the Hecatoncheires, the 100-handed ones, who can tremble the earth with a single strike, could very well determine the outcome of the battle. But we cannot do it alone," Demeter added, whose serene wisdom consistently provided a stabilizing influence on the group. "The world teeters on the brink, and the might of the Titans remains formidable. We must brace ourselves for the unforeseen." Zeus turned to his siblings, determination etched on his face. "Let us commence. Hades, you and I shall descend into the depths of Tartarus to liberate the prisoners. Hera, Demeter, Hestia, you must strengthen Olympus, for Cronus will chase us the moment he becomes aware of our scheme. Poseidon, you are tasked with securing the seas and ensuring that our escape routes remain unobstructed." Poseidon roared, his eyes sparkling like the waves in the sunlight. "Trust me, the ocean is my realm. No enemy will glide across the waters unnoticed." Hades, however, remained silent, his eyes drawn to the deep shadows enveloping Olympus. "The Tartarus," he murmured. "There is no place more sinister. It is a realm of terrors that even the Titans dread. And yet we must go there," said Zeus in a resolute tone. "The Cyclopes have crafted weapons that no force in existence can shatter. They owe nothing to Cronus, and have harbored a deep-seated hatred for him since his reign of tyranny. If we liberate them, they will aid us." Hades nodded slowly, his eyes glinting with determination. "The moment has come for Cronus to answer for his heinous deeds." The descent into Tartarus. Tartarus, a pitch-black abyss deep beneath the earth, was a realm of unending dread. In this forsaken place, the Titans had cast away all who could threaten their dominion. The Cyclopes, the one-eyed artisans of the gods, and the formidable Hecatoncheires with their 100 powerful arms. No light ever pierced these shadowy depths, and the oppressive silence weighed heavily on the soul like a leaden shroud. Only the most courageous and desperate of gods dared to step into this eternal confinement. With unwavering determination, Zeus and Hades set off to reach the heart of Tartarus, traversing the winding paths of the underworld. Their footsteps echoed through the endless corridors as darkness enveloped them like a living entity. They sensed the essence of eternity surrounding them, intertwined with the shadows of both the past and the future. "I have witnessed countless horrors," began Hades in a hushed, ominous tone, "yet Tartarus stands as the most terrifying realm of all. It is a domain unfit for gods, and Cronus has guaranteed that even the mightiest beings endure torment in this forsaken abyss." Zeus, whose determination remained steadfast, paused and regarded his brother. "Our foes dread what is concealed here, Hades. The Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires. They wield the power to topple Cronus. If we liberate them, the tide will shift." Hades' eyes shone with a chilling light. "And what if they bear hostility towards us? They were unjustly exiled, yet their animosity could reach anyone, even us." Zeus smiled faintly, and the light of his divinity pierced the darkness for a moment. "We shall find out soon." As they finally reached the gates of Tartarus, they sensed the oppressive presence of the imprisoned giants. The air was thick and heavy with the ancient power that lay dormant in the depths. With a tremendous effort, Zeus swung open the colossal gates, revealing a dark labyrinth of endless corridors and cells where the captive creatures languished in their despair. In one of the darkest cells, they discovered the Cyclopes, their enormous forms concealed in shadow. As the gods arrived, their eyes ignited with a fierce light. Brontes, one of the Cyclopes, gradually rose to his full height, his solitary blazing gaze locking onto Zeus, revealing a complex blend of fury and anticipation. "Who dares to disturb us after all these centuries?" he roared, his voice reverberating like a storm through the ancient halls of Tartarus. Zeus stepped boldly forward, his eyes gleaming like bolts of lightning piercing the darkness. "I am Zeus, the son of Cronus, here to rectify the injustice of your fate. My grandfather, Uranus, driven by fear of your immense power, has cast you into this exile. Yet now the moment has arrived for you to seize back your freedom." The Cyclops cast a wary look at Zeus. "What reason do we have to place our trust in you, offspring of the one who has banished us to this darkness?" Zeus met the gaze of the formidable being and spoke with resolute determination. "I have come to topple Cronus. If you assist me, we shall unite to vanquish the tyrant and establish a new order, a realm free from unjust oppression." A whisper spread among the Cyclopes. Gradually, Steropes and Arges, the other two Cyclopes, rose, their colossal forms resembling mountains in motion. Brontes's eye flashed with fury, yet a glimmer of hope also shone within it. "And the Hecatoncheires?" asked Brontes in a deep voice. "What is to become of them?" "They too shall be liberated," replied Zeus with unwavering conviction. "Their strength will prove vital in our battle against Cronus. Stand by my side, and together we shall reign over Olympus." A long silence followed as the Cyclopes absorbed the words of Zeus. At last, Brontes stepped forward, his powerful hand reaching out as if he sought to grasp Zeus's destiny. "Very well," he finally said. "We shall follow you, Zeus, yet beware, should you deceive us." Zeus grasped the hand of the Cyclops and nodded resolutely. "I do not deceive you. Together we shall bring down Cronus." With the Cyclopes at their side, Zeus and Hades delved deeper into Tartarus, seeking the Hecatoncheires, the hundred-handed giants whom they ultimately liberated. This marked the initial step towards the overthrow of the Titans, yet the journey to freedom remained lengthy and riddled with peril.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this part of our audiobook. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to hear more, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future chapters.